good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Bruce, how was the weekend?
Long, very long. The week was long. The weekend was longer. Oh, and now we go into another week. So, but this is the first 2 weeks of training camp that
Right.
you always expect a little uptick in your pace, your rhythm, and you're getting back into that rhythm. So it's all good. It's all good.
Good. All right. I want to tell you about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. The preseason games are getting close, which means where are you going to watch them? My suggestion, Sportsbook Bar and Grill in the DTC in Highlands Ranch, also coming soon to Parker. I was just there on Friday, sat down, had a little lunch with my buddy Judson, who's one of the owners on Friday. Of course, I had to get the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. That goes without saying. But if you want more than that, the Brussels sprouts are great as well. All different kinds of burgers, all different types of sauces for their amazing wings as well. But this is truly a sports bar that was built by, sports fans. When you walk in, you're going to say, yeah, I think I would have done it this way. You have TVs plastered all over the walls. Every seat's a great seat in the house. They're more than just the NFL and Major League Baseball and hockey and basketball. They have European soccer, rugby, UFC fights. It has something for everyone. Go check out the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and coming soon to Parker. Time now for The Lead.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Okay, so we are now into training camp, and today is expected to be the first day in pads. When Sean Payton was asked about Dre Greenlaw on Saturday in anticipation of today's practice in pads, he said, quote, "There are certain players that really express themselves in full gear, and he is going to be one of them." So what else do you expect? And who do you expect to really make an impact with pads today?
I think it will be along the offensive and defensive fronts, two of the most competitive position groups, just by their nature alone, where they line up in proximity to one another. I think the physicality of practice will be most interesting along the trenches, just because of the competitive rivalry now that's starting to spring between the offense and the defense. Everything starts in the trenches, without sounding too typical here. I would say that's where I would really look for it. The front seven defensively, and then that front five offensively. We'll see if Mike McGlinchey is back today. He was at practice over the weekend, but did not participate on Saturday. But I would expect that to be kind of the nexus or the center for a uptick in physicality in practice.
I'm going to piggyback onto that, where, there are a lot of experts, so-called experts around the league that believe the Broncos have the best offensive line in football. And then there are those, Pro Football Focus, who believe the Broncos have a top 3 front 7 in football, right?
Right.
So unlike, most teams year by year, very rarely are you considered to be that strong in the trenches. Usually it's going to be one side or the other side that might dominate the other. I think there's a lot of pride because both sides are expected to be so good that neither wants to get pushed around starting today. I'm not suggesting that it is going to be chippy, but both sides are going to be fantastic or expected to be really, really good this season. So I'll be curious to see how that pans out. Also, though, with the running back situation, today is the day that we will see just how good, potentially, and I know it's only one day, just how good RJ Harvey is, just how good J.K. Dobbins looks, because these guys are going to be hit. And when you hit a hole in typical practices without pads, and then you see a guy running towards the end zone, you're like, ooh. For the layman, that's what the layman does. But when there's hitting today, the guys will eventually finish the play in the end zone, but you know where the stop is really going to be.
Yeah, the pops that will be taken today will be real, and you'll be able to, especially in team sessions, you'll be able to approximate where a player goes down, for instance, much better. It's not two-hand touch or area tackling. There will be physical contact that, that you need to have, and that Sean Payton believes that you need to have. And I tend to agree with him on this. Not that he needs it, but, I do believe that you've got to practice physically to play a physical game. And I think that this week will be a physical week. Now, you've got some days during the week that might be a little bit different because there's a pretty good chance for rain in the middle of the week. Be interesting to see these guys move inside, I suppose, because they're not going to have them on the field in any kind of rain. But I'm looking forward to seeing what this group looks like and how enthusiastic and how much they're looking forward to it. You're going to have a couple of hot days here to start the week, and you got pads on top of it. It's a little bit of a different gig.
Disappointing news on Saturday. Drew Sanders goes down with a foot injury. I believe it is tendon damage down there. Don't know when he's going to come back. I believe that surgery is being considered. He hasn't done enough to warrant this label, but he's starting to feel, wow, this is really a shame that we're going to look at Drew Sanders and say what could have been with all that athleticism. I am not suggesting that his season is over, but we know what kind of physical specimen he is, being able to go sideline to sideline.
Yeah.
But then the second thing is Dre Greenlaw is being worked in. He's not going full throttle in practices. That's the inside linebacker spot. We know Justin Stranad can play. Alex Singleton's coming off an injury. Should we start looking at the depth at inside linebacker right now?
Yeah, I think Lavelle Bailey is going to be a guy that probably gets a lot of run as well. And he's actually been pretty active through the first week. We'll see with pads going on today. But if there is one position where you really can't afford too much skimming off of the top, it's probably inside linebacker, right? I mean, other position groups can kind of take that kind of hit, reestablish themselves, and move on. And I'm not saying that they won't be able to in the inside linebacker room too, but there are questions there, right? I mean, there are 5 games collectively between Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton a year ago. That's just a fact. They only played 5 games between them. Both of them are coming back from injuries. It's not to say that both of them can't load up and play 15, 16 games this year. That'd be great if they could, but they didn't a year ago.
Right.
So those are things that, you have to take into account. You got kind of a little thing with Mike McGlinchey, we hope. But obviously the first potential casualty looks like it's going to be Drew Sanders. And it's a damn shame because this guy we saw enough of him at the end of his rookie season to say, okay, this guy's got some real possibilities. He's an All-American at Arkansas, comes from very good pedigree in the SEC, started his career at Alabama. The guy can play. He's a big physical. He moves well. But, every now and then, Eric, and you know it as well as anybody, you get these star-crossed guys who, through no fault of their own, just happen to be guys that have difficulty staying on the field. It has nothing to do with their desire. No. It has nothing to do with what their want is. It just seems to work out that way for some guys. And I hate it that we're starting the season off looking at that as a possibility for Drew Sanders.
We've had more than a few practices so far leading up to today in pads. Just throw a few guys my way that have not jumped off the page, jumped off the field, but guys who have impressed you early on. I'll start with Riley Moss.
Yeah, I think Riley Moss has been outstanding. I think Riley Moss has been the best cornerback in terms of performance through the first 4 days. Now, let me explain what I mean. Pat Surtain just doesn't get, even in his own practices against his team, right. They just don't throw the ball that way. He did. Troy Franklin did beat him on a crossing pattern, by maybe a half a step. It was a perfectly thrown ball. I noticed Pat then. I wrote him down a couple of times. But I would agree with you. I think Riley Moss on the defensive end, I think Q Robinson is a guy that we need to pay attention to, a guy that coming out of the draft was very much thought of as a special teams kind of guy, a project, appears to be much further along in that regard. And I think that if you watch him pretty much in every single practice, he's popped. He's done something or other that has made you think they may have something with this guy. So that would be my pick on the defensive side. Those two guys have, I think, shown well. Who do you like on offense?
I think Pat Bryant has made some plays.
Yeah,
Franklin's made some plays.
Yep.
Mims has made some plays. Vele hasn't jumped off the field at you.
No,
really?
Not necessarily.
Not like the other guys.
No.
Courtland Sutton really hasn't done that. And it's not a knock on either of those guys. When you have, outside of Pat Bryant, really, when you have guys who have speed, they tend to jump off the page because they're running deeper routes. They catch, longer passes, and you're like, ooh, right? Yeah. Courtland Sutton is not being asked to go 30 yards downfield. And, either is Vele. But when you have a guy like Mims getting behind the defense and you have Troy Franklin getting behind the defense, that's what generates the most oohs and ahs. It's not to suggest the other two guys aren't, catching everything thrown their way, but it's the shiny object is always going to be the deep pass.
Yes.
And the guys who are going to be catching the deep passes are the guys that we just mentioned, which are Mims and Franklin.
Yeah, no question about it. Receivers,
Evan Ingram, too. Evan Ingram has been a baller.
Yeah, I think Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram has been good. Yeah.
And you can see where that Joker line is coming from Sean Payton, where this guy is going to be used in a lot of different areas. Ingram did say something. He wants to become a better blocker. Okay. Now, how is he going to become a better blocker, honestly, as a tight end, when I think like 18% of his snaps historically have been on the line? Is he hoping to be a really good blocker like Rod Smith was as a wide receiver? So I'm not really sure what he means, because a lot of it depends on where he's going to be lined up.
I think he wants to at least have that element of his game at his disposal, simply because he doesn't want to be a red flag anytime that he's on the field, that the Broncos are going to be in a passing set. So you've got to be able to do just enough to help in the running game, even though I think the Broncos will a lot of times probably line up in a 2 tight end set. And Adam Troutman, as we know, is a capable pass catcher, not dynamic, but a capable pass catcher, although sometimes dynamic. He made a couple of catches last year that were, highlight worthy kind of stuff, but he's a very, very good blocking tight end. Courtland Sutton isn't flashing very much because he's being kept. He's not in a lot of the team sessions right now. So we haven't seen him out there, but when we have...
Let me ask you,
yes.
Well, why do you think he's being bubble wrapped a little bit? I can understand Dre Greenlaw, okay? But why Courtland Sutton? You would think if he's not in all of these team sessions, using your words, correct?
Right.
Are they trying to make sure he doesn't get injured for a trade?
Well, one could think that, or you could say maybe Courtland and his people are, until they come up with an extension, maybe they're the ones that are kind of putting the reins on this thing.
Let's role play this.
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's just say what you're saying is true. You are Courtland's representatives, and I am Sean Payton. All right? Give me your pitch on Courtland and potentially a new contract that you want to keep him off the field a little bit more so he doesn't get injured. Go ahead.
Well, I want to protect my guy. I want to protect my guy and and the investment in him moving forward.
What do you think Sean's going to say? Go fuck yourself. This is a football team. We're not
Really?
We're not scheduling training at camp
Doesn't
around
he
your
kind of know
guy.
doesn't he kind of know what he has with Courtland Sutton from that standpoint? I don't know. I think Sean, I'm with you. I think that would be my initial reaction. I think there's a side of Sean that kind of gets it. I mean, I think he gets a lot of things. I think he's an incredibly smart individual. I think he appreciates a player's plight, and I think that he and I'm not saying that he's all in on it. I mean, that's a little bit of a crazy train, but I do think that he is at least conscious of it. So I don't know where the point of, I would say this, if you're looking for the first deal to be done, if it's going to get done, I think it would, if you ask me what has the best chance of getting done before the regular season starts, it would be Courtland Sutton. I really do think that. Nick Bonito, I think, will be done during the season. I think he's kind of resigned to that, and I don't think it bothers him. I think he's okay with that. Or at least it seems like it. But I think that Courtland Sutton, he's going into his 8th year. He's coming off arguably his best season. He has value at this particular point, and he might have even bigger value for a team when a receiver goes down, for instance. Might have value for the Broncos that way too. Let's not forget, you and I have talked about this. There is trade value right now for a guy like Courtland Sutton. Now, don't be expecting a 2nd or a 3rd round pick. That's fantasy land. But even a fourth round pick, something like a 5th round pick, those are all value. Look at what the Broncos are doing with their draft picks. Those are valuable picks for the Broncos if they need to go in that direction. So, so that I think that's a little bit more caution than anything else, and I think it comes as much from Courtland as it probably would be, probably more so than the Broncos, who might be trying to protect him. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think the Broncos are just moving forward with it, but we'll have to see how that plays out.
All right, coming up after the break, Bo Nix met the media on Saturday. He'd said some really interesting things, and I want to dive into some of these comments because we've heard comments like this from players in the past. I want to be the best in the NFL, things like that, right? But he says it so matter-of-factly that it doesn't feel rehearsed or staged or forced like, I don't know, Russell Wilson would do. That's next. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a new Sea-Doo, 4-wheeler, or the cash award from the Big Wheel Spin, plus $7,500 in cash. The grand prize drawing is the weekend of August 16th, and get finalist entries every 45 minutes from 10 a.m. to midnight during their daily cash drawing, with a locked-up jackpot of $100 or more. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos. Loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
And welcome back. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Nola Jane in the heart of Lodo. No one does Cajun cuisine better than Nola Jane. Go see why their award-winning menu is the best in town.
Bo Nix held his first media session for training camp on Saturday. Here are some of the things that he said, starting with being ranked number 64 in the NFL's top 100. He said it really doesn't matter where you're ranked. It's just an internal standard that I have, and I want to be the best in the world. More than a few quarterbacks have said they want to be the best in the NFL. But does it sound a little bit different to you coming out of his mouth than maybe the mouths of others?
Well, yeah, because it's not what you say, it's what you do. And Bo Nix is a what you do kind of guy. Everything that he has done from the day that he was drafted, and even before then, because everything was a prelude to him being drafted, but everything that he has done is to make himself a better player so that he can make his unit a better unit and his team a better team. He hasn't wavered from that. Bo Nix has done an unbelievable job. You talk about a guy ahead of his, with the wisdom way beyond his years. Just think about a Christian quarterback being able to ingratiate themselves so completely with a group as diverse as a locker room in the National Football League. So
Let me ask
week,
you, what does Christian have anything to do with it?
I think that sometimes if you wear that, there can be, I don't want to say separation, because I think everybody has their beliefs to one level or another. But I do think that I think that sometimes it can have a separating effect as opposed to an inclusive effect. I don't want to go too far on that, because but my point is on this is that all Bo Nix has done is from day one has been one of the guys. I'm watching him in practice last week, and they break off into a special teams group. There's really nothing here. He could be doing nothing at all. But Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton are running sprints across the field. And Nix, kind of on the sly, is walking by him, and right as they're about ready to go, he turns and joins them going work. And all of a sudden, these three guys are a blur going across the field. Little things like that people wouldn't even notice otherwise are things that I think players notice. He's one of us. He's a guy that gets it. He's a guy that grinds. He's a guy that gets in the trenches and does all of the little things that help us win. And just for a guy as young and as inexperienced as he still is, to be able to say that heading into year 2 and starting year 2, I think it's pretty remarkable. But it shouldn't surprise us, because this guy showed up on day 1 way smarter than his lack of experience would indicate.
I'm going to give you another example. You talked about running with Singleton and Greenlaw.
Sure.
Watch Bo Nix stretch before the start of practice.
Mm-hmm.
He takes it seriously. He goes for the full stretch, not the half-ass stretch.
Yeah, right.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye on it, because it's funny. In years past, when you and I have covered football, you see guys kind of half-assing their stretches, and then they wind up getting injured.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not going to get injured, but he does it to the best of his ability just with stretching. Now, when I watched you on television last night, I was totally bored. I had nothing going on. All of us, in some ways, when we have a camera on us, we're a little bit on. It's not that we change our voice, but we become a little bit of a broadcaster at times when the camera's in front of us. Is that a fair statement to a small extent, specifically with younger people in this business? Like you and I are just two guys right now hanging on, a bar stool, having a glass of orange juice, by the way, in the morning. But when you are on the podium meeting the media, there is a little bit of, I need to be on, right? I need to have a little bit more energy.
Yeah, that can be the case sometimes. Sure. Yeah.
With him, everything is just very a matter of fact with the way things come out of his mouth. He never really seems to be on in that podium. It's pretty much always the same tone. So when he makes a comment like, just very much off the hook, I want to be the best in the world, it's not something that he has rehearsed like Peyton Manning used to rehearse some of his greatest hits, meaning his favorite joke lines. He'd rehearse that stuff at times, okay? But with him talking about Nix, it just comes very naturally to him. With that, give me 1 or 2 words that describe your motivation to become a sportscaster. This is something that you wanted to do, right? But would words be, I want to be the best, or this is something I love? Is there a word that describes your feelings starting off in this business that motivates you? Passion. It could be passion. It could be love of sports. I love to create television. Is there a word that describes something like that for you?
Driven.
Good. I have a very different word, and that's why I am bringing this up. So this is what else Bo Nix had to say about what motivates him. He said, I think it's more of the fear of not being ready, not being enough for the team. That's what continues to drive me, and not what's going to give me an off year. A lot of times as a rookie, you don't want to look like an idiot. Now you can go out there and look a lot better than just an idiot. Do you think fear is a good motivator?
It is for the right person that can handle what the fear brings to you. Fear can also make you a deer in the headlights. And you got to be careful about how you use that fear. So it takes a certain type of person who can handle it. And I think that Bo Nix is that kind of person. I think fear is probably for him a pretty good motivator. It falls into the category of, get out in front because someone may always be gaining on you, right? And he handles it for what that's a motivating factor for him. I'm not saying it would be a great motivator for all people, because I think that in Bo Nix's case, there is fear without being afraid.
Okay, so You said your motivator was what? What word did you use?
Drive.
Okay. When Bo Nix said that, he was singing my song. My entire career has been based on fear. All of it. Every single day up to this day. And this is my definition of fear, which I'm guessing is close to his definition of fear. I'm afraid of making an ass out of myself on this podcast. When I do the show on Guerrilla Sports twice a week, I am afraid of making an ass out of myself. And that's why I prepare and work as hard as I can. I remember when I started doing sports talk radio over 15 years ago, I was so hyper prepared for everything because I was so afraid a caller would ask a question and I would not know the answer to it. When I was on television, I was so afraid of making mistakes that I prepared really, really hard for it. It wasn't a fear of losing my job. It was fear of looking foolish. So when he makes a statement like, I think it's more of the fear of not being ready, not being enough for the team. That's what drives me. An off year. I don't want to look like an idiot. I listen to it. I'm like, man, that's exactly what has driven me for 35 years in this business. How it motivates you, different word. I get it. But boy, to me, that the word, I've told people that my whole career has been based on fear. When I do fundraising events, I like to feel that I'm so prepared that I don't want to make a mistake up there, say the wrong word when I'm trying to fundraise. Because what will happen is, if you don't work really, really hard and be as prepared as you can to win before you walk in the door, if I'm not prepared to win before we start this show, I'm going to look back and say, why didn't I do that? Now I have to blame myself for my failure. If I am prepared as I can be before this show and I make a mistake, I can live with that. I can live with a live podcast. I can live with live television and live radio. I cannot live with knowing I should have done something and didn't do it, made a mistake, and now I got to say, Eric, you are such an idiot for not preparing harder.
Well, it's funny how it all gets back to the very basics of moving yourself forward in any in any profession. And I think it's basically the same. Hard work, preparation, hard work. You prepare to work, you work to prepare. They've got to be interchangeable, and you've got to be true to it. And the first time that you start getting lazy about your preparation, which is only arrived at through hard work.
Yeah.
You can't be prepared as a player unless you work hard. You can't be prepared as a journalist unless you don't do your research. You've got to work hard. It may manifest itself in lots of different ways, but in the end, hard work, preparation, those are the two very strong facets of success in just about any way of life, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how you function without those two things. I mean, you could function, I suppose, but I don't know how you succeed without those things.
Every player in every team is going to, pump the tires of their quarterback. My favorite was when Von Miller famously said, and I'm paraphrasing, talking about Trevor Siemian, I see some Peyton Manning in him. And I'm rolling my eyes going, Vaughn, I know you're trying to pump up Trevor Siemian, but you just went to a level that is so incredibly unrealistic and, quite frankly, beyond head scratching. So with that, we are hearing a lot of public praise for Bo Nix from his teammates. You've covered a lot of quarterbacks. You've covered a lot of sports. Does this type of genuine praise, again, seem different than the type of praise that you hear publicly about one teammate being talked about by other teammates.
Yes, it is different because the universality of the whole thing. He won his locker room early last year, right? Then he went out and proved it. And now the thing is interesting is it's talking with Ingram, Hufanga. It's talking with the guys that have come in that their only knowledge of Bo Nix has been from afar. But the unmitigated respect that they've got for this guy just from an off-season, OTAs, mini camps, and now a week into training camp is pretty remarkable. And it is universal. There's no hesitation. There's no, well, we'll have to see how it works out. It is bought in, belief, he's the guy. Every single guy, when you talk with them, talks about his work ethic, attention to detail, his inclusiveness in the locker room, his leadership, all of those things. It's almost, I mean, I guess a cynic would be waiting for the other shoe to drop. But this, for lack of a better term, I would say when you're looking at a guy like Bo Nix, it's almost too good to be true.
It's the things that are said by the players that are detailed, as opposed to the things that are said that are cliches. When a player says about another player, he's the first in the door and the last to leave, that is a cliche.
Yeah.
When you have someone like Brandon Jones talking about the way Bo Nix has improved, he went back to, I watched this guy improve game to game last year. That's a phrase that I haven't heard.
Right.
Credit to our good friend Andrew Mason, who did a one-on-one with Adam Troutman. Adam Troutman was asked about Nix, what he thought about him and his processor and all that stuff. I'm going to butcher the way he said it, but this is essentially what he said. He said, Bo's a gene. He's a really bright guy. He stopped short of calling him a genius. That is something that you don't hear one player say about another player, unless you're talking about the 2012 through 2015 Broncos talking about Peyton Manning.
Right.
Because you could call him a genius. You're always going to compliment your teammates publicly. But it's when you hear fresh things with great detail that you've never heard before said about one player as opposed to the rest, that's how you know it is different. They have a real affinity for this guy.
No question.
Because he is humble. He kind of keeps his mouth shut, and he is so hyper prepared. What did we say about Bo Nix when he first got here? Generally speaking, after more than a few practices, doesn't make the same mistake twice. All you have to do is tell him once. And he plays that position where you really need a guy who's not going to make the same mistake twice. It is a love affair with their quarterback that they really believe that he's going to be the first one in the door for the war. And they want him to be, and he wants to be. He embraces that role, and he relishes that role. And these guys will follow him blindly wherever he wants to take them because they trust him.
Well, you want him on that wall. You need him on that wall.
Right. Well
No
said.
question.
And honestly, and I'll just say it today, we are in late July. Listen, all of us have made predictions that are wrong. I can tell you as many predictions I've made that are wrong than are right. I will be stunned, barring injury, stunned if Bo Nix eventually does not become one of the best quarterbacks in this league. I will be floored. I will question myself on how I analyze players if I am wrong on this, because to me, I don't see anything that leads me to believe that this guy is not going to continue to get exponentially better because of what this guy has from the neck up. I was listening to an interview with Tom Brady. Now, this interview has been out there for a while. And what Brady said, he goes, my magic, my secret sauce was knowing what the play was before the snap was even done.
Mm-hmm.
He said, he was talking about the Super Bowl. He said, I knew the Chiefs defense better than the Chiefs knew their own defense. He goes, that's what I did really well. He basically said, it's not like I was some great physical specimen. I just knew my own offense. I knew what they were going to do. And basically I was always able to find the open wide receiver. Have you ever noticed that the great quarterbacks rarely throw into coverage?
Right.
They always happen to find the open guy.
And isn't it interesting that as we started this segment, we so ended? Preparation, hard work. I mean, that's prep. When you can make a statement that I know a team's defense better than the defense that is playing it, that's all about hard work and preparation.
But do you
That's
think
about
he's that
learning.
guy?
Yeah.
Do you think he will get to that level?
I think that is that's naturally who he is.
I'm not saying he's going to be Tom Brady.
Yeah, I'm not saying that at all.
Or Manning.
He will ascend to the level that's right for him.
Right.
But he is predisposed to get there because he is that kind. What we talked about it from day one, processing. He is a rare processor. It doesn't mean he's the only processor. There are plenty of quarterbacks in the NFL that can process very well. But if you have the ability to process, if you can take the game and see it on the levels that you need to be able to see it, and it's not too fast for you, that it makes you swim, then you have a tremendous advantage over others. Now you start adding things to that,
Right.
and that's where we are in year 2. Understanding the offense, knowing what works, knowing your offense in a way that you've never seen it before. Now learning how to execute it with more consistency. These are all things that are arrived at through hard work. And, by the way, preparation. We see things on the practice field and on Sundays, but we don't see any of the things that are done in position rooms, in film, at home, with a tablet, with all of the work that guys do. Bo Nix is one of those guys. He just has it.
I'll tell you who I think he could become, and I'll use another. If you want to use the word sport or game, that's fine. I think Bo Nix has the potential to be a grandmaster in chess. And what do I mean by that? Have you ever seen the Netflix series, The Queen's Gambit?
Loved it.
Okay. So the great chess players, the grandmasters, can literally move pieces on the board in their own head 5, 6, 7, 8 moves ahead. They know exactly where they want their opponent to be. They put that opponent in that position so they can think that far ahead. That's what Peyton Manning was on the field. That's what Tom Brady was on the field. I think Bo Nix, listening to him, watching him, talking to other people, has that ability. Maybe not 7, 8, 9 moves ahead, but certainly 2, 3, 4 moves ahead. I think that is the direction that he is heading.
I there's no pushback there. I mean, I think the evidence indicates that. That's the thing. It's the way that, as Brandon Jones very rightfully said to us this week, hey, I saw, and this doesn't happen a lot. Rookies go in ebb and flow, right? I mean, he started slowly, and then everything from that point on was ascending. Every single week in some form or another, he was ascending. Doesn't mean that he won every week, but his understanding of the game, how to play it, all of those things were ascending. So when you have a veteran saying to watch a rookie like that make that kind of progress it is a rarity.
What would you call a grandmaster in chess? A genius. What did Adam Troutman stop short of calling? Bo Nix.
A grandmaster.
A genius.
Right.
That's going to do it for us, Bruce. I'll see you when they're popping pads in a couple of hours, or maybe less than that. This is Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Make it the best possible day you can.